The unexpected encounter. The vast expanse of space stretched out before the Zarkonian battlecruiser, its sleek, silvery hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge, his four eyes narrowed as he surveyed the holographic display before him. The Zarkonian Empire had reigned supreme for millennia, their technological prowess and military might unmatched across the known galaxy. "Status report," Vexthor demanded, his voice a low rumble that sent ripples through his throat sacs. A junior officer, her scales a dull green with youth, responded promptly. "All systems nominal, Admiral. We're approaching the outer rim of the Helios sector." Vexthor nodded, his upper eyes blinking in acknowledgement, while his lower pair remained fixed on the display. The Helios sector was a backwater region, home to several pre-FTL species that the Empire had long ignored. It was beneath their notice, a galactic afterthought. "Any activity of note?" he asked, more out of habit than genuine interest. The young officer hesitated, her throat sacs pulsing with uncertainty. "Well, sir, there is one anomaly. We've detected an unusual energy signature near the third planet of the yellow dwarf star." Vexthor's lower eyes swiveled to focus on her. "Unusual how?" It appears to be a fleet, sir, but the energy readings don't match anything in our database." For the first time in cycles, Vexthor felt a flicker of curiosity. He expanded the holographic display, zooming in on the indicated area. Sure enough, a cluster of ships hovered near a blue-green planet. Their designs were unfamiliar, lacking the sleek, organic curves of Zarkonian vessels or the crystalline structures of the Korath Collective. "Magnify," he ordered. The image sharpened, revealing details of the alien fleet. The ships were a hodgepodge of designs, some boxy and utilitarian, others slim and dart-like. They seemed to be constructed from a variety of materials, some gleaming like polished metal, others dark and matte. "What species inhabits that planet?" Vexthor asked, his curiosity growing. The junior officer consulted her datapad. "According to our records, it's a primitive species called humans. They were classified as pre-FTL less than a century ago." Vexthor's throat sacs rumbled with amusement. "Pre-FTL. Then these can't be their ships. Perhaps some foolish race is using their system as a hiding spot." He paused, considering. "Hail them. Let's see who dares to encroach on Zarkonian space." Moments passed in tense silence as the communications officer sent out the standard Imperial greeting. Vexthor expected a panicked response, perhaps a plea for mercy or a clumsy attempt at deception. What they received instead shocked the entire bridge crew into silence. A holographic figure materialized before them, unmistakably human. The alien was Bictal, with pale skin and a crop of dark fur atop its head. It wore a uniform of deep blue, adorned with unfamiliar insignias. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Fleet." The figure spoke, its voice clear and unwavering. "We acknowledge your hail, Zarkonian vessel. State your purpose in this system." Vexthor's four eyes blinked rapidly in succession. The human's audacity was astounding. He drew himself up to his full height, his scales shimmering with indignation. "I am Admiral Vexthor of the Zarkonian Empire," he replied, injecting his voice with millennia of assumed superiority. "This sector falls under our protection. Explain your presence here immediately." The human's expression remained impassive. "This system is the home of humanity, Admiral Vexthor. We are well aware of the Zarkonian Empire's claims, but we do not recognize them. We are here to defend our sovereign territory." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the bridge. Vexthor felt a mix of amusement and annoyance. These humans were either incredibly brave or spectacularly foolish. "Defend," he scoffed. "With that collection of scrap metal you call a fleet, I suggest you power down your ships and prepare to be boarded. The Empire will decide your fate." For the first time, a flicker of emotion crossed the human's face. Was it fear? No, Vexthor realized with a start. It was pity. "Admiral," Helena Chen said softly, "I don't think you understand the situation. We are not some pre-FTL species cowering on our homeworld. The ships you see before you are merely a fraction of our fleet, a greeting party, if you will." As if on cue, the holographic display exploded with new information. Hundreds of ships were suddenly appearing, seeming to materialize out of nowhere. Sleek, powerful vessels that dwarfed even the Zarkonian battle cruiser emerged from what appeared to be ripples in space itself. "Impossible," Vex Thor whispered, all four eyes wide with shock. Admiral Chen's voice was firm, but not unkind. "Not impossible, Admiral. Simply beyond your current understanding. Humanity has chosen to reveal itself to the galactic community, and we come in peace. But make no mistake, we will defend ourselves if necessary." The bridge of the Zarkonian ship erupted into chaos. Officers scrambled to make sense of the readings, to understand how they could have been so blindsided. Vex Thor stood frozen, his mind reeling as he tried to comprehend the sudden shift in the galaxy's power dynamics. "How?" he managed to ask, his earlier bravado evaporating. "How did you achieve this without our knowledge?" Helena Chen's hologram smiled, a gesture that Vex Thor found both reassuring and terrifying. "Humanity has always been good at keeping secrets, Admiral, and we're even better at surprises. Now shall we discuss this like equals? I believe we have much to learn from each other." As the human admiral's words hung in the air, Vex Thor realized that everything he thought he knew about the galaxy had just changed. The Zarkonian Empire, in all its ancient glory, had been caught completely off guard by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The deception unveiled, Admiral Vex Thor paced the length of his private quarters, his claws clicking against the metallic floor. The encounter with the human fleet had left him shaken, his confidence eroded like sand against the tide. He paused before a large viewport, gazing out at the stars that had once seemed a playground for the Zarkonian Empire. Now they felt ominous, full of hidden threats and unknown powers. A chime at his door interrupted his brooding. "Enter," he growled. His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Zira, glided into the room. Her scales were a deep purple, denoting her high rank and extensive experience. "Admiral," she began, her voice low and urgent, "we've completed our initial analysis of the human fleet." Vex Thor turned to face her, all four eyes focused intently. "And?" Zira's throat sacs pulsed with agitation. "It's troubling, sir. Their technology is unlike anything we've ever encountered. The energy signatures we're detecting suggest propulsion systems that operate on principles we can barely comprehend." "Explain," Vex Thor demanded, his curiosity overriding his unease. Zira activated a holographic display, showing a schematic of one of the human ships. Their vessels seem to manipulate space-time itself for propulsion. It's not just faster than light travel. It's as if they're folding space, creating shortcuts through the fabric of the universe. Vex Thor's scales rippled with disbelief. "That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical," Zira finished. "Yet they've done it. And that's not all. Their weapons systems." She trailed off, her throat sacs pulsing rapidly. "Speak, Zira," Vex Thor urged. "They appear to be capable of harnessing dark energy, sir. If our readings are correct, a single shot from their main cannons could tear a planet apart." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zarkonian Empire, with all its millennia of technological advancement, suddenly felt primitive in comparison. "How?" Vex Thor whispered, more to himself than to Zira. "How did they achieve all this in secret?" Before Zira could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Both officers rushed to the bridge, where chaos reigned. The main view screen showed a terrifying sight. A small squadron of human ships had broken off from their main fleet and were approaching rapidly. "Battle stations," Vex Thor roared, his training kicking in despite his fear. "Raise shields, charge weapons. The Zarkonian battle cruiser, once the pride of their fleet, now felt woefully inadequate as the human ships drew near. Vex-Thor watched in horrified fascination as the approaching vessels seemed to flicker and dance, as if they were only partially present in normal space. "They're hailing us," the communications officer announced. On screen, Vex-Thor ordered, bracing himself. Admiral Helena Chen's face appeared, her expression stern but not hostile. "Admiral Vex-Thor, we've detected energy buildup in your weapon systems. I hope you're not planning anything foolish." Vex-Thor's throat sacs swelled with indignation. "You approach our ship with obvious hostile intent, and you accuse us of foolishness." Chen's eyebrow raised slightly. "Hostile intent? Admiral, if we meant you harm, you wouldn't have time to raise your shields. This is a demonstration, nothing more. Observe." The view screen split, showing both Chen and an external view of space. One of the human ships suddenly vanished, only to reappear instantly on the other side of the Zarkonian cruiser. "Impossible," Zyra breathed. "Localized space-time manipulation," Chen explained, her tone almost casual. "We call it blinking. Quite useful in combat, as you can imagine." Vex-Thor felt a chill run down his spine. If the humans could move their ships instantly in battle, the Empire's entire strategy of warfare was obsolete. "Why are you showing us this?" he asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because we want you to understand, Admiral. Humanity has no desire for conflict with the Zarkonian Empire. But we will not be subjugated or dismissed. We've watched your empire expand for centuries, and we've prepared accordingly." "Centuries," Vex-Thor exclaimed. "But our records show your species as pre-FTL less than 100 years ago." A small smile played on Chen's lips. "Yes, they do. Tell me, Admiral, did it never occur to your empire that a species might deliberately hide its progress? That we might present a primitive facade while advancing in secret?" The implications hit Vex-Thor like a plasma blast. The humans hadn't just made a sudden leap in technology. They had orchestrated a centuries-long deception, fooling the entire galaxy. "But why?" he asked, genuinely perplexed. "Why hide?" "Survival," Chen replied simply. "We studied the history of your empire, how you subjugated or destroyed species you saw as potential rivals. We knew that to survive, we had to be stronger, and to become stronger, we needed time." As if to underscore her words, another human ship blinked into existence right next to the Zarkonian cruiser. Proximity alarms blared, and Vex-Thor could see his crew fighting the urge to panic. "What do you want from us?" Vex-Thor asked, realizing that the balance of power had shifted irrevocably. Chen's expression became serious. "We want peace, Admiral, but on equal terms. The era of Zarkonian dominance is over. It's time for a new galactic order, one based on cooperation rather than subjugation." Vex-Thor looked around his bridge, at the faces of his crew, all showing varying degrees of fear and awe. He thought of the Empire, of its long history, and its uncertain future. In that moment, he made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Very well, Admiral Chen," he said, drawing himself up to his full height. "I will convey your message to my superiors. But know this, the Zarkonian Empire does not yield easily. If there is to be a new order, we will have a say in shaping it." Chen nodded, a look of respect crossing her features. "That's all we ask, Admiral. Equal voices in a galactic community. I look forward to further discussions." As the transmission ended and the human ships began to withdraw, Vex-Thor turned to his still stunned crew. "Send a priority message to High Command," he ordered. "The galaxy as we know it has changed, and we must change with it, or be left behind." As the Zarkonian ship hung in space, dwarfed by the now revealed might of the human fleet, Vex-Thor couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and excitement. The age of complacency was over. A new era of challenge, innovation, and possibly cooperation was dawning. And deep in his hearts, Vexthor knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The tables turn. The Grand Council chamber of the Zarkonian Empire was in uproar. Holographic displays flickered with images of the human fleet, each new piece of data sending ripples of shock through the assembled dignitaries. Emperor Zaxval, his scales a deep iridescent blue denoting his supreme rank, sat on his crystalline throne, all four eyes narrowed in concentration. Silence. He roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. The chamber fell quiet, all eyes turning to their leader. Admiral Vexthor, Zaxval intoned, "Your report is disturbing. Are you certain of its accuracy?" Vexthor, standing at attention before the council, nodded solemnly. "I witnessed it with my own eyes, Your Majesty. The humans possess technology far beyond our current understanding. Their ability to manipulate space-time alone puts them centuries ahead of us." Murmurs rippled through the chamber once more. An elderly counselor, his scales faded with age, spoke up. "But how is this possible? We've monitored their planet for decades. There were no signs of such advancement." "That, honored counselor," Vexthor replied, "is perhaps the most remarkable aspect of all. The humans deliberately concealed their progress, presenting a false image of a primitive civilization, while secretly preparing for this moment." The Emperor's throat sacs pulsed with agitation. "A deception on a galactic scale," he mused. "Impressive and deeply concerning." As the council debated the implications, alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. The main holographic display flickered to life, showing a fleet of ships emerging from what appeared to be tears in the fabric of space itself. "Impossible," gasped the Minister of Defense. "We're in the heart of Imperial space. Our defenses are useless against their technology," Vexthor finished grimly. The face of Admiral Helena Chen materialized on the display. "Greetings, Emperor Zaxval, and esteemed members of the Zarkonian Grand Council. I apologize for the intrusion, but we felt a direct demonstration was necessary." The Emperor rose from his throne, his regal bearing masking his shock. "You dare to violate the sanctity of our homeworld," he thundered. Chen's expression remained impassive. "With all due respect, Your Majesty, we're merely illustrating a point. Your defenses, impressive as they are, cannot stop us. Yet here we are, talking instead of conquering. I hope that sends a clear message about our intentions." The council chamber erupted into chaos once more, but Zaxval raised a hand for silence. "Speak your piece, human. What do you want from us?" "As we told Admiral Vexthor, we seek a new galactic order, one of cooperation, not domination. The Zarkonian Empire has ruled through fear and military might for too long. It's time for change." Zaxval's scales rippled with indignation. "You presume to lecture us on governance. Our empire has brought stability to the galaxy for millennia. Stability through subjugation is no true peace," Chen countered. "We're offering you a chance to be part of something greater. A galactic community where all species can thrive and contribute." As the Emperor opened his mouth to retort, a new alarm sounded. The defensive grid around a nearby Zarkonian colony had just fallen, its entire fleet neutralized in a matter of minutes. "That," Chen said softly, "was not us." Confusion rippled through the council chamber. Vexthor stepped forward, his military training kicking in. "Explain," he demanded. Chen's hologram expanded, showing a new fleet of ships engaging the Zarkonian forces. These vessels were crystalline in structure, beautiful yet terrifying in their efficiency. "The Korath Collective," someone whispered in horror. Chen nodded grimly. "They've been waiting for an opportunity like this. With your attention focused on us, they saw a chance to strike." The Emperor sank back into his throne, the weight of the situation evident in his posture. "Why show us this? Why not let our enemies destroy us?" "Because that's not who we are," Chen replied, her voice firm. "Humanity has no desire to see the galaxy plunged into chaos. We believe the Zarkonian Empire can be a force for good if it chooses to change. Vexthor stepped forward, addressing both the Emperor and Chen. You knew this would happen, he stated, realization dawning. You've been monitoring the Korath as well. Chen nodded. We've had centuries to prepare, Admiral. We've mapped the political landscape of the galaxy in detail. The Korath have long sought to overthrow Zarkonian rule. We knew our emergence would create opportunities for them. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. And now you offer aid, making us indebted to you. Clever humans. Not indebted, Chen corrected. Aligned. We're offering you a chance to fight alongside us as equals, to show the galaxy what a truly united front looks like. As if on cue, a squad of human ships blinked into existence near the besieged Zarkonian colony. With a precision that left the Council breathless, they engaged the Korath fleet. Ships danced through space, energy weapons flared, and within minutes, the tide of battle had turned. Magnificent, Vexthor breathed, his military mind already analyzing the tactics on display. The Emperor stood once more, his bearing regal despite the unprecedented situation. It seems, Admiral Chen, that we find ourselves at a crossroads. You offer cooperation, yet demonstrate power that could easily destroy us. Why should we trust you? Chen's hologram smiled, a gesture that seemed both reassuring and slightly unsettling to the Zarkonians. Because, Your Majesty, if we wanted to destroy you, we would have done so already. We're giving you a choice, a luxury your empire hasn't always extended to others. A tense silence fell over the council chamber. The Emperor's gaze swept over his advisors, reading the mix of fear, awe, and cautious hope on their faces. Finally, he turned back to Chen's hologram. Very well, Admiral. It seems the galaxy has changed whether we will it or not. The Zarkonian Empire will. Consider your proposal. Chen nodded respectfully. That's all we ask, Your Majesty. In the meantime, shall we discuss how to deal with our mutual Korath problem? As the human and Zarkonian leaders began to strategize, Vexthor couldn't help but feel a sense of irony. The empire that had long seen itself as the pinnacle of galactic civilization was now taking its first steps into a much larger universe, guided by a species they had once dismissed as primitive. The tables had turned, and the true game was only just beginning. The human advantage. The joint Zarkonian human fleet hung in space, a testament to the rapidly changing galactic political landscape. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as human and Zarkonian crews worked side by side, their movements still awkward but growing more synchronized by the day. Remarkable, isn't it? Admiral Helena Chen's voice came from behind him. Vexthor turned to face his human counterpart, noting the ease with which she moved in the slightly higher gravity of the Zarkonian ship. Indeed, he replied, his throat sacs pulsing with a mix of admiration and lingering unease. Though I must admit, I'm still trying to understand your species, Admiral Chen. Your technological prowess is evident, but there's something more, isn't there? Chen smiled, a gesture Vexthor was slowly learning to read. Perceptive as always, Admiral. You're right. Our advantage isn't just in our technology. It's in how we think, how we adapt. Before Vexthor could probe further, alarms blared across the bridge. A junior officer, her scales a vibrant green with youth, called out, "Multiple Korath ships dropping out of FTL. Sir, they're on an attack vector." Vexthor's military training kicked in immediately. Battle stations, raise shields and... He paused, glancing at Chen. The human admiral nodded, a silent acknowledgement of their new partnership. Your ship, your call, Admiral Vexthor, she said. Vexthor felt a surge of respect for the human. Very well. All ships, assume defensive formation Zeta 3. Human vessels, if you could provide your unique support. Chen tapped a communications device on her wrist. All human ships. execute Operation Firefly. What followed was a display of coordination and adaptability that left Vexthor in awe. The human ships seemed to dance between dimensions, appearing and disappearing at will. They herded the Korath vessels like shepherds guiding a flock, forcing them into positions where the Zarkonian ships could unleash devastating barrages. Incredible, Vexthor murmured. Your tactics, they're unlike anything I've seen. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the battle display. We call it asymmetric warfare, using unexpected strategies to overcome a seemingly superior force. As the battle raged on, Vexthor began to notice something peculiar. The human ships, despite their advanced technology, weren't simply obliterating the enemy. Instead, they were creating opportunities, openings for the Zarkonian vessels to strike. You're holding back, he asked, realization dawning. Chen turned to him, her expression serious. We're fighting alongside you, Admiral, not for you. This is your battle, as much as ours. We provide the edge, but your people must learn to wield it. Vexthor felt a complex mix of emotions, gratitude, respect, and a touch of wounded pride. But he understood the wisdom in Chen's words. The Zarkonian Empire had grown complacent in its power. This was a chance to evolve, to earn their place in this new galactic order. As the last Korath ship fell to a precision strike from a Zarkonian cruiser, cheers erupted across the bridge. Vexthor allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before turning back to Chen. I believe you were going to explain the true nature of humanity's advantage, he prompted. Chen gestured towards the viewport, where debris from the battle floated silently in space. What do you see out there, Admiral? Vexthor's 4 eyes blinked in succession. The aftermath of our victory, he replied, unsure of her point. I see possibility, Chen said softly. Every piece of wreckage, every scrap of alien technology. It's all an opportunity to learn, to grow, to adapt. She turned to face Vexthor fully. That's humanity's true strength, Admiral. We're insatiably curious. We see a new piece of technology, and we don't just admire it. We take it apart, figure out how it works, and then improve upon it. Vexthor's throat sacs pulsed with sudden understanding. That's how you advanced so quickly. You've been scavenging. Chen shook her head. Not just scavenging. Learning. Adapting. Every time your empire or the Korath had a skirmish near our space, we were there, invisible, watching, analyzing. Every stray transmission, every discarded piece of tech. It was all data to us. She began to pace, her enthusiasm evident. But it's more than that. We don't just copy, we innovate. We take disparate pieces of knowledge and combine them in ways no one else has considered. Our scientists work alongside our artists, our warriors with our philosophers. We break down the barriers between disciplines because we know that's where the real breakthroughs happen. Vexthor found himself captivated. This approach was so foreign to the rigid, hierarchical structure of Zarkonian society. And this, adaptability. You believe it's the key to thriving in the galaxy. I know it is, Chen replied firmly. Look at how quickly we've integrated our forces in just a few cycles. Your people are learning our tactics and we're learning yours. Together, we're becoming something greater than either of us could be alone. As if to underscore her point, a Zarkonian officer approached, holding a datapad. Admirals, she said, addressing both Chen and Vexthor with equal respect. We've analyzed the debris from the Korath ships. There's something you need to see. The officer brought up a holographic display, showing schematics of a Korath weapon system. We've discovered evidence of recent modifications to their energy weapons. It appears they've been attempting to replicate some aspects of human technology. Vexthor felt a chill run down his spine. They're adapting too, he murmured. Chen nodded grimly. The galaxy is changing, Admiral. The old ways of hoarding knowledge, of maintaining power through secrecy and brute force, they won't work anymore. We need to evolve faster than our adversaries. Vexthor straightened, feeling the weight of the moment. Then we shall evolve, he declared. The Zarkonian Empire has survived for millennia by being the strongest. Perhaps it's time we learn to be the smartest as well. A smile spread across Chen's face. Now you're thinking like a human, Admiral. As the two leaders turned their attention to the data before them, Vexthor realized that this alliance was more than just a military pact. It was the beginning of a transformation for his people, for humanity, and for the galaxy itself. The human advantage wasn't just their technology or their tactics. It was their ability to change, to grow, to see possibilities where others saw only obstacles. And now, that advantage was becoming a shared strength. The next move in this cosmic chess game was theirs to make. And for the first time in ages, Vexthor felt truly excited about the future. The new Galactic Order. The Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat buzzed with activity. Representatives from 100 different species filled the chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the vast tapestry of life that populated the cosmos. At the center of it all stood a circular table, its surface alive with holographic displays showing star systems, trade routes, and the ebb and flow of resources across the galaxy. Admiral Helena Chen, now bearing the title of Human Ambassador, stood at one side of this table. Beside her, Admiral Vexthor, representing the Zarkonian Empire, cut an impressive figure. His scales shimmered with a new iridescence, a sign of the changes his people had undergone in the years since their first encounter with humanity. The floor recognizes the Human-Zarkonian Alliance, intoned the moderator, a being of pure energy whose form rippled like a living aurora. Chen stepped forward, her voice carrying across the chamber. Esteemed colleagues, we stand at a crossroads. The old order of domination and fear is crumbling. In its place, we have the opportunity to build something truly remarkable. A galactic community founded on cooperation, mutual respect, and shared progress. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. A representative of the Korath Collective, their crystalline form glittering under the chamber's lights, spoke up. Pretty words, Ambassador Chen. But actions speak louder. How can we trust that this isn't simply a new form of human domination? Vexthor bristled, but Chen placed a calming hand on his arm. She smiled at the Korath representative. A fair question, and one best answered with a demonstration. She tapped a control on the table, and a holographic display shifted. What you're seeing is the culmination of a joint human-Zarkonian project, Chen explained. A network of space-time corridors that, when complete, will link every major system in the galaxy. Travel that once took months will be reduced to days, even hours. The assembly erupted in excited chatter. An avian being with iridescent feathers trilled. The economic implications alone are staggering. Chen nodded. Indeed. But more importantly, this network will be open to all. The technology will be shared, not hoarded. This is the cornerstone of our vision. Progress that benefits all, not just a select few. Vexthor stepped forward, his voice resonating with conviction. As someone who once viewed humans as a potential threat, I can attest to the transformative power of their philosophy. The Zarkonian Empire has flourished not through conquest, but through collaboration. We are stronger, more prosperous, and more enlightened than ever before. A reptilian being, scales glittering with bioluminescent patterns, raised a clawed hand. This all sounds promising, but how do we prevent this new order from falling into the same traps as the old? Power corrupts, after all. Chen's expression grew serious. An excellent point, which is why we propose a rotating council, with term limits and checks and balances built into its very structure. No single species, no matter how advanced, should hold sway over the others indefinitely. She gestured to the assembled representatives. Each of you brings unique perspectives, unique strengths. The challenges we face, from resource scarcity to the very expansion of our universe, are too great for any one species to solve alone. But together, the possibilities are limitless. As Chen spoke, Vex Thor couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. The initial fear and distrust, the gradual understanding, and finally, the exhilarating leap into true partnership. He remembered the words Chen had spoken to him years ago about humanity's greatest strength being their adaptability, their insatiable curiosity. Now he saw that strength reflected in the eyes of every being in the chamber. The hunger for knowledge, the desire to grow and evolve. It wasn't unique to humans. It was a galactic constant, a force as fundamental as gravity. Humanity had simply been the catalyst, the spark that ignited a fire of change across the cosmos. The Korath representative spoke again, their tone more thoughtful now. Your vision is compelling, but such drastic change will not come easily. There will be resistance, perhaps even conflict. Chen nodded solemnly. You're right. The path ahead won't be easy. But consider the alternative, a galaxy locked in endless cycles of domination and rebellion, of progress and destruction. We have a chance to break that cycle, to reach for something greater. Vex Thor stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of millennia of Zarkonian history. Change is never without risk. But I stand before you as living proof that it is possible. The Zarkonian Empire, once the undisputed ruler of this galaxy, now comes to you as an equal, seeking partnership rather than subjugation. If we can change, anyone can. A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. Species that had been bitter enemies for generations looked at each other with new eyes, seeing potential allies where once they saw only threats. The moderator's energy form pulsed brightly. We will now call for a vote on the formation of the Galactic Concordat, as proposed by the Human-Zarkonian Alliance. All in favor. What followed was not a unanimous decision. True change never is. But as the votes were tallied, it became clear that a new era had dawned. Species after species pledged their support, their representatives speaking of hope, of possibility, of a future brighter than any they had dared imagine before. As the session concluded, Shen turned to Vex Thor, her eyes shining with emotion. We did it, she said softly. Vex Thor's throat sacs pulsed with a complex mix of feelings, pride, hope, and a touch of lingering amazement at how far they had come. No, Ambassador, he replied. We've only just begun. Together, they looked out over the assembly, at the myriad forms of life coming together in ways that would have been unthinkable just a few years before. Humans mingled with Zarkonians, Korath engaged in animated discussion with beings made of pure thought, and 1,000 other interactions that defied easy categorization. This was the true human advantage, Vex Thor realized. Not their technology, not their tactics, but their ability to inspire, to show the galaxy a vision of what could be, and then work tirelessly to make it a reality. As the representatives filed out, already forming working groups and sketching out plans for this brave new galactic order, Vex Thor felt a sense of purpose unlike anything he had experienced in his long life. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was also filled with limitless potential. The age of isolation and fear was over. The era of collaboration and shared discovery had begun. And every being in the galaxy, from the mightiest empire to the humblest pre-FTL species, would have a part to play in shaping it. The stars, once a battlefield, now beckoned as a playground for the imagination, and humanity, the unlikely catalyst for this grand transformation, stood ready to lead the charge into a future limited only by the bounds of collective imagination and the spirit of cooperation. The new galactic order was not just a political reality, it was a promise of a future where the only constant was growth, where every challenge was an opportunity, and where the combined ingenuity of 1,000,000 worlds would propel them all towards a destiny grander than any single species could have dreamed alone. As Chen and Vex Thor left the chamber, they knew that their work was far from over. But for the first time in galactic history, the path ahead was one of hope, of unity, and of endless possibility. The human spirit had ignited a fire across the cosmos, and its light would guide them all into a brighter tomorrow.